Hello everyone. Let's talk about another beautiful essay that's been written by Bertrand. The title of the essay is Knowledge and Wisdom. 74. He is a 20th century logician, essayist, and a social critic from Great Britain. He has written many essays and articles, and he is best known for mathematical logic and analytical philosophy. So you might be wondering the core idea, the central idea of this essay. Let me unfold it. So the very first thing that we got to know about this essay is that in his essay, Russell differentiates between knowledge and wisdom by giving a few examples and describing some constituents of wisdom. Okay? He defines knowledge as acquisition of data or information. So we go to school, we listen to teachers, we go to universities, we discuss with professors, we go to libraries and we read books and we gather information about things, about life, about our world. Okay? So this is how our acquisition of data or information goes on increasing. So knowledge, that's why, is all about knowing things right. Okay. On the other hand, wisdom is the practical application of the knowledge that we have acquired. So let me conclude saying, right, wisdom is more about doing things right. So knowing things right versus doing things right. Okay. So in the essay, the writer argues that our ever-increasing knowledge should be proportionally combined with equal degree of increasing wisdom. Okay? So I believe you have understood this matter, the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Moving ahead, let's see the essay. So the writer goes on saying that although our knowledge is increasing, our wisdom is not increasing in the same ratio. So because of this thing, we are facing many problems. He believes that when our knowledge goes increasing, our wisdom should go increasing in the same way. Therefore, we are facing problem in present day world. To clarify more, here in the essay, the writer discusses about the different constituents of wisdom, because everybody wants to become a wise person. If you want to become a wise person, you have to check whether in your thought and action you are considering these 5 points or not. Okay, so let's talk about the main thing here, the different constituents of wisdom. According to Russell, the very first constituent of wisdom is a sense of proportion. It is a capacity to consider all the factors involved in a problem. And in the beginning of the essay, the writer gives an example. Take for example, right, a pharmacist, a chemist has discovered a new form of medicine. So since he has succeeded in lowering the infant death rate, so of course it may have further consequences that are unexpected by the chemist. All right, it may have negative consequences unseen by the chemist who makes that important medicine. So in case of lowering the infant mortality rate, what has happened? Take for example, right, after the availability of the medicine, so many children who otherwise would have died quite early on, right? So the infant mortality rate had been alarmingly high in the past, which has gone down, means that many children have got to the reproductive age in some poor countries in Africa and in Asia. As a result, there has been a population explosion, right? And increasing population do not have sufficient food. So it has resulted out in another problem, that is malnutrition, undernutrition, and many people are dying due to starvation and violence. So while solving one problem, right, we have to see whether it has any other negative consequences or not. We have to see proportionally whether our discovery, our invention, or our application of knowledge does the maximum benefit of maximum number of people or not. So this is what the sense of proportion the writer discusses here. Okay. So moving ahead to the second point, the second constituent of wisdom is positive purpose of our knowledge. Okay. Take for example, you can consider Albert Einstein, whether his knowledge was positively used or not. It was used for positive purpose or not. Albert Einstein, he invented that theory, atomic theory, E equals to mc square. So to form or to find a new source of energy. But what happened? It has been used in making nuclear bombs, atomic bombs, and that has devastated the world. Many people therefore keep arguing whether it was the wise thing to do or not, right? You can take any example. For example, a scientist like Albert Einstein, who has studied atomic theory, he comes up with a principle, right, for a positive purpose of finding a new source of energy. But if a lunatic, a crazy politician, a very powerful leader, or an autocratic leader in the world finds that atomic theory, it can be misused. Okay, Hitler so definitely would have used the atomic theory to destroy the entire world. But luckily, Albert Einstein fled to United States of America, and there was less damage. Of course, there was damage, but there was less damage. Okay, so many historians and philosophers have also made mistakes, right? Take for example, in this essay, the writer criticizes Hegel. He calls Hegel a knowledgeable, stupid fellow. Okay, Hegel, according to writer, was a very knowledgeable person, but he was rather a stupid person because he did not make the positive use of his knowledge. What he did was that he aggravated the conflict between France and Germany by saying that Germans were far superior to the French by history, by past. Of course, he provided some examples. Some part of modern Germany, okay, that belonged to France, he said, right? At a time when the two nations were trying to find some apple of discord, they were about to fight. They were thinking of starting a war, and they were provoked by Hegel's statement on history. Therefore, although Hegel knew things about history, he had knowledge, he did not have common sense and wisdom. So we have to see the positive purpose of our knowledge if we want to become a wise person, says the writer. Okay. Moving to the third point, wisdom is constituted by freedom from personal prejudice. The writer has given example of three friends, friend A, B, and C. Take for example, the first friend A knows that both B and C hate each other. If that first friend A tells them the truth about what they think one by one, he is a fool. He is a stupid person. He is not a wise person because he tries to increase enmity, hatred between the two others. But at the same time, if that friend escapes his personal prejudice, right, now he can try his best to minimize the hatred between the two, and that hatred can be changed into a very wise and fostering relationship of friendship. So a wise person always does the same thing, right? Tries his best to minimize the hatred and enmity between the others, right? And by escaping his or her own personal benefits and prejudice. So if you have the ability like this, you are a wise person. Otherwise, you got to check it out for yourself. So you might be rather stupid person if you exacerbate enmity and hatred between the two other friends. Moving ahead, the fourth constituent of wisdom, the writer says in this essay, is patience, persuasiveness, and impartiality in combination. Okay, so you have to see in any situation, you should not act out like a hungry child who doesn't have patience at all. Okay, or you should not lose the persuasive ability whenever two people are arguing or discussing. Okay, you should not show any kind of favoritism. Okay, partiality whenever you are making a judgment. All right, these like situations you have to check by yourself whenever you are carrying your thoughts and actions. No one can view the world with complete impartiality because we are humans. We are prejudiced, like we have our biasness, but we can practice minimizing it. So practice, and further practice. So it's necessary to become a wise person. in this sense, wisdom can be taught. We can teach our students, our children, to practice more, to have more impartiality, persuasiveness, and patience in their activities. Right? So, it is not a good thing to hate those who hate us, says Bertrand Russell. Because, according to Russell, hatred of evil itself is a kind of bondage to evil, right? If a person, okay, hates anyone who doesn't like him or her, and he is equally wrong because he cannot escape that hatred or let's say enmity. And okay, moving ahead. So the writer, in fact, doesn't advocate non-resistance. It doesn't mean that somebody comes and gives you a slap and you just sit like Lord Buddha, right? So resistance could be necessary, but in his opinion, there should be minimum resistance. So in this context, the last constituent of wisdom comes. What is that? That is very simple. Okay, maximum degree of understanding and the minimum degree of force while solving a problem. Take for example, you have a problem. Okay, if you are using minimum degree of force while solving your problem, either in your personal life or in any sphere of life, you are using the minimum degree of force, you are a wise person. But all of a sudden, if you use the maximum degree of force, you are a stupid person, right? So in this sense, the writer Bertrand Russell says that three leaders from the world, Queen Elizabeth I in England, Henry IV in France, and Abraham Lincoln, United States of America, so used little resistance to solve the political problems, religious problems of their nations. They used maximum degree of understanding and minimum degree of force to tackle with the problems that their nations and people were facing at that time. Therefore, Bertrand Russell calls them very wise leaders. Okay, so while giving the knowledge, therefore, the writer says that we also have to give morality. We have to teach our children the moral lessons. So this makes them wise people in the days ahead. Wisdom, according to the writer, becomes more necessary as we go increasing our knowledge. Therefore, our future needs more wisdom. So conclusively, let me tell you only one sentence. Knowledge alone can be very dangerous and destructive. Right? Knowledge alone can be very dangerous and destructive. So when knowledge goes increasing, wisdom should also go increasing. So these are the different points the writer has mentioned in this essay. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful time ahead.